The Bridges and Ports DLC for City Skylines 2 is finally here, and it comes with a base game update. These bring big and small changes related to maps for all players, as well as map makers. I won't do a deep dive into all the new DLC assets, but I want to focus on how the DLC and update affect the maps you play on and your existing saves. I especially want to dive into the update to the new water simulation. I've seen a lot of questions and theories about the water simulation update and offshore oil. The most common concern seems to be that people are worried that they have to start a new city. To some, that's exciting, but if you love your city, I'll show you some ways to upgrade your save game so you can take advantage of all the new features in the DLC. Or, if you want to start a new city, I'll give you some info to help you choose the right map. And if you're into map making, I'll be releasing another video soon on how to convert the water sources in your existing maps to the new simulation, and how to use the new water tools in the editor. So subscribe if you're interested in that. I've also been asked if I've made a new map for this DLC release. The answer is yes and no. I will not be publishing a new map with the DLC release. However, I already published a couple of maps that I intended for this DLC prior to its delay. Specifically, those are Coos Bay and Bay of Gibraltar. But if you want something new, I have seen a few work-in-progress maps from other creators, so keep an eye on PDX mods for those. And I do have a couple of maps in the pipeline, they're just not ready yet. Now, since we have a big update coming, you should expect that many mods will have issues. Some are ready for the update, and others may require more time, so please be patient with the modders as they do their work. A list of the most popular mods and their status will be available, along with information on what to do if you use mods extensively or are a modder yourself. I'll provide links in the description as soon as they're available. Thank you to all the modders for your work, and to the community members in early access that help test out all the mods. You are a vital part of this community and make this game better for everyone. I also want to thank Paradox Interactive for providing me with early access to the base game update and Bridges and Ports DLC. It was a great opportunity to provide feedback to potentially improve a game I love to play. And please note that I already paid for the Ultimate Edition, and that includes the DLC. I recognize early access is a privilege, and I'll always do my best to not let that influence my opinions. I will give credit and criticism where I believe they are due. Before we move on, I want to say that none of this would be possible without the support of my desk. And of course, anyone who has played on my maps or watched my videos. So, thank you to each and every one of you. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's dive in. The Bridges and Ports DLC includes 5 maps, modular port areas, 20 bridges, industrial piers and quays, lighthouses, boat props, 9 parks, waterfront and low-density commercial zoning, and a couple of new industries to the game, fishing and offshore oil. Whew. And, oh yeah, ferries. I almost forgot those. There are now ferries. Let's start with the new industries, since they will probably determine what map you want to play on, or whether you can keep building your existing city. All of the new DLC maps include offshore oil, and the rest of the vanilla maps have been updated to include it as well. In anticipation of this DLC, I have updated all of my coastal maps to include offshore oil. Other custom maps will also need updating if they don't already include it. Keep in mind that map updates do not apply to existing save games, only new games on those maps. If you're planning on continuing with an existing save on a map without offshore oil, but want to play with this new industry mechanic, you'll need to add oil to your map with the extra landscaping tools mod or with dev mode. If you have dev mode enabled, follow these simple steps. First, select any terrain tool. Now, press tab to bring up dev mode. Go to Simulation, and under Terrain Tool, click on Select Next until you see Oil Resource Tool. From here, you can start painting in the resource. And if you press escape, you can close dev mode and see the options for changing the brush size and strength. Another consideration is what type of offshore oil industry you want. Now, after placing the main building for offshore oil industry, you'll see there are two types of platforms for extraction. One for shallow water that is connected by pipes, and one for deep water that is connected by seaways and ship routes. Keep in mind the main building and platforms create ground, air, and noise pollution. Bridges and ports includes two main kinds of fishing industries, offshore and inland. The abundance of fish is relative to water depth and automatically exists on all maps. Note that when starting a new game, you might not see the fish right away in the resource overlay. Just let the simulation run and you should see the fish appear in less than a minute. Here, you can see this gradient of fish abundance I've made with corresponding water depths in meters. From what I understand so far, water needs to be deeper than 15 meters to have any amount of fish worth building an industry on. Note that fish abundance can also be reduced by other marine activities like seaways, and all types of fishing industry only create noise pollution. When you place the main building for offshore fishing, you'll see you can either designate areas for catching wild fish or spawning fish farms. Now, similar to other industry mechanics with randomly spawning extractors, I don't love the way the fish farms appear. I think the assets look nice, but I'd rather place them manually and connect them with a ship route or pier. This would look more realistic. As for inland fishing, you can build them anywhere if you're into that kind of thing. And again, don't get me started on the random extractor buildings. Bridges and ports comes with many new assets. I'm not going to show them all off here, but I'll stay focused on their importance for maps. Keep in mind that if any of these assets are used in a map, the DLC will be a dependency, and you'll see an icon in the top left of the map thumbnail when starting a new game. Technically, the map can still be loaded without the DLC, but the asset will either be missing or appear as a gray box which can be deleted. Please note that I will not be using any content exclusive to DLCs in my maps, as I want as many people as possible to experience them. If you want to take full advantage of the new assets like ports, bridges, and ferries, you'll obviously need a good coastal map. Something with a deep bay or wide rivers would be perfect. Now, while I'm happy to finally have lighthouses, I have a few gripes about the situation. First, they all require road access. Now, this makes some sense since the buildings need services like electricity, but what about lighthouses on islands or precarious cliffs? Now I'll have to service them or live with the annoying notifications. Second, I'm a bit confused by the lighting. The LOD on the lights is pretty short, so they appear dark from a distance, and they aren't animated. To be fair, most modern lighthouses don't have a rotating lens, but it would be neat if at least one of them rotated. I'm hoping these issues can be fixed in a future update, but for now, it seems like a missed opportunity with some nice assets. Now, what frustrates me most about the lighthouses is that these are DLC exclusives. As someone who made maps in City Skylines 1, it was great to have lighthouses as a base game prop for detailing maps. I wish at least one of these lighthouses didn't require road access and was part of the base game update, so they could be used in maps without creating a dependency. It just feels like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The base game update to version 1.3.6 that comes alongside the DLC will bring a host of bug fixes and updates. Among those are 3 important items: increased noise pollution from zoned industry, population drop when loading an existing save, and increased industrial traffic. You can find the full patch notes on the Paradox forum, but I'll highlight a few changes that I find most interesting. The update to the water simulation and new water tools in the editor are a big change to the game. We'll do a deep dive on that later in the video, and I'll show you how to see if you can update your save game or map to the new water simulation. I'll also show you that there are new settings in the editor for map makers to adjust sea flow, foam, wave size, and interestingly, color. So now we can have Mediterranean blue or glacial green. Note that the sliders for sea flow direction and strength don't currently do anything. The developers are aware of this and are working on it. Roadwear has also changed, and I'm very happy about this. The old roadwear never made any sense to me, and now I can remove roadwear adjuster from my mod list. Thank you HX2003 for your service to the community, and thanks to Colossal Order for listening to the community and making this change. Next, water no longer appears in tunnels. At first I thought this was related to the new water simulation, but I tested it on a map with the old water simulation and you can't see it anymore. This is fantastic news. Moving on, building abandonment was re-enabled. Did you even notice it was missing? I don't see any new assets listed in the notes. However, I did find new wildlife in the editor. Now, we can add spawners for salmon, tuna, and whales to our maps. Now let's go over the updates I've made to my maps. Again, these updates will not impact any existing save files you have on these maps. You will need to start a new game to see these changes. And in case you didn't know, you can access older versions of my maps in the PDX website by clicking All Versions on the mod page, where you'll get a drop-down list. Okay, so how have I updated my maps? First, I added Offshore Oil to all my coastal maps. And many of the coastal maps now have some of the new ocean wildlife sprinkled in. I've also slightly adjusted a few map tiles on my maps. For example, on Coos Bay, I made this water tile larger so you can replace the rail bridge and adjust the seaways within one tile. I also went through my older maps from before I knew about water tiles and added them to all the ocean areas. In case you don't know, water tiles have 1/3 of the cost and upkeep of a standard map tile, and they're easily identified by their blue color. I also updated the breakwater in the Victoria, BC map. I've learned a lot about how to make them look good since making that map. The Bay of Gibraltar map got a few updates as well. I asked Darren for some feedback on how to improve the map. He's been building a city on his map since it was released, and had some great feedback for me. But let's just take a moment to admire his build. C'est beau, mon ami. And this build is all vanilla, by the way. Look at it, it's huge. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with the new DLC content around this port area. If you're interested in checking out his live streams, you can find a link to his YouTube and Twitch in the description. Anyways, he was experiencing issues building quays without the road being a couple meters higher than the terrain. This is because there's a minimum height the quay walls need to be above water, and I made the coastal flat areas just too low. The sweet spot seems to be between 5 to 6 meters. So instead of terraforming the entire map to bring the land up to the right height, I lowered the sea level by a couple of meters. This makes for nice and easy quay walls around the port area. I also added another rail line to make a better connection between these two areas without having to buy this tile. It doesn't exist in the real world, but I'm willing to make some adjustments to improve gameplay. But you're probably most curious about which of my maps are using the new water simulation. I spent a lot of time trying to update my maps to use the new water simulation. However, not all of them will be getting it. Maps that don't have big river systems are fairly easy to convert. So far, I've converted all of the ones you're seeing up on screen now, and a few I might still try and update. But don't expect the new water simulation on the maps you're seeing now. I've put a lot of time trying to get the water right on Caribou Valley, but I eventually realized that I needed more sources to get the right water level, and those sources disrupt the flow of water. I think I would have to terraform the entire riverbed to fix that issue, and I would have to do it twice if I want to update both versions of the map. Similarly, I tried to update Zwolle, but there are 429 water sources on this map, and many of them ran dry in the canals when updating to the new water simulation, so it would likely take me ages to fix it. To put it bluntly, it's just not worth my time to fix these ones. During all of this, I started to wonder if the benefits of the new water system outweighed me updating the maps. As for the maps I was able to easily update, I will be publishing the updated versions within about 24 hours of Bridges and Ports releasing. I cannot publish the updates before release. Otherwise, there were some minor changes to most of the maps that you'll be able to see in the changelog for each map if you're interested. I've seen a lot of concern swirling around since August 19th when Colossal Order published this post titled Work in Motion. It stated that they were working on an update to the water simulation that improves how water behaves and fills in rivers or lakes that extend outside the playable area on maps. It continues, the update will only apply to new cities created after its release, so your existing cities won't experience the benefits of the new water simulation, and your cities will be safe from unexpected flooding as a result of the changes. But this statement missed something important. Existing custom maps don't automatically update to the new water simulation, and if you start a new city on a map with the old water simulation, you're still using that old water simulation. The map maker needs to manually update the map and update it on Paradox mods for you to get the new water simulation. This is all fine, by the way, because they did clarify in another post that old water sources still work, so both existing saves and maps made with the old system work. However, they also recommend updating to the new system even though it isn't required. A lot of players were confused or concerned and had many questions like, should I bother publishing my map I've been working on? Should I start a new city with the new water simulations? Is it so much better that my old city is basically useless? And if I don't use the new water simulation, can I take advantage of the new DLC features? I'll quickly answer that last one. Your old city is fine, and you can use the new DLC features with the old water system. But if you want to see if your save game can be updated to the new water simulation, follow these steps. First, save a backup of your game because the conversion is irreversible and you may experience significant flooding or drought. Then you're going to open up dev mode. If you don't have it enabled, there's a quick guide on the CS2 wiki. Under simulation, go down to water. Then you'll find the update to new water sources button and click that. I recommend speeding up the water simulation to see if there are any issues a little bit quicker. As you can see here, I'm experiencing some flooding. To fix these, we would need the water features mod by Yen Yang. If you're playing on launch day, please be patient while they update their mods. I haven't tried the new version of the mod yet, but I'll show it off in my upcoming water tutorial video. Now, I haven't found a button in dev mode to enable water in the world map yet, and it appears to be slightly flooding outside of the playable area, just like we'll see in my tests in the next section. There's also a slider here to adjust sea level, but I find it quite difficult to get a precise value, so I don't recommend it. Again, be very careful with all of these features and save your game before trying any of this. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the new water simulation. I needed to test the new water simulation and try to answer a few very important questions. What is new? What are the benefits? And does my map or city need the new water simulation? Let's go through my tests one by one, and then I'll summarize my findings. Please note that these tests aren't super scientific. It's entirely possible that I get something wrong. I'm just showing you what I experienced. I'm going to make a follow-up video where I'll give a more in-depth guide for map makers on how to use the new water tools in the editor. My first test is setting the sea level. I immediately noticed how much faster water fills the map now. And I much prefer the method of setting an absolute sea level for the map instead of adding sources. It's just way easier. My next test was filling lakes. Similar to the sea, lakes fill much faster than before. But I also noticed that smaller sources don't spread their water as far as they did before. I'm not sure if this is because less water is being released from the source or it's evaporating faster. Then, I wanted to test water flowing down slopes. Water seems to travel a bit faster down slopes and appears more fluid and less sticky. I also noticed it seems to be better at filling smaller streams and canals, but my results were a bit mixed depending on the size of the source. I also tested waterfalls. Despite the water appearing more fluid, there doesn't appear to be much of an improvement here since the water still sticks to strange places beside the waterfall. Maybe I'm just not very good at this, but I guess if you spend a lot of time terraforming, you might be able to get it to look good. Now, the next logical step was to test dams. I don't claim to be any kind of expert in dams. I've tried a few times in the past to build them and never really got much power out of them, but I heard that from a lot of other people. So, I tried to learn how to make a functional dam and then tested at least 2 different heights with the new and old water systems. So let's take a look at this short dam first. With the old water simulation, it started off by generating several megawatts, then dropped down to just a few kilowatts. With the new water simulation, it started off by generating 0 and then went all the way up to 144 kilowatts. That's not really a lot. So the new simulation seems to be an improvement here, but it's still not great. I'm guessing that's because the water isn't falling very far. So let's take a look at a taller dam. With the old water simulation, it started off by generating 70 megawatts and then dropped down to almost 20 megawatts, and finally stabilized around 30 megawatts. With the new water simulation, it started off at 0 and stabilized around 40 megawatts. This seems like an improvement. What I've noticed here in both cases is that the electricity generation now starts at 0 and goes up instead of starting high and dropping down. I'm actually not entirely sure if this improvement is related to the water simulation update or is just an update on how the dams work in general. However, I didn't see anything in the patch notes about dams. If you're a dam wizard, let me know if you've noticed any differences and if I'm getting something wrong here. And now for my last test. One of the big new features is that you can now have water in the world map. I was told that water can now go off the edge of the map if you enable it in the editor, but it won't come from the world map back to the buildable area. I was concerned about flooding, so I designed this valley to confirm all of this. As you can see with the old water simulation, water will just build up at the edge of the map and not go into the world map. Now let's try with the new water simulation. It will do the same as before until we select Simulate Backdrop Water. So let's do that. You can see that it now flows out into the world map, but let's see if it comes back around this valley and back into the buildable area. And no. The wall of water sits at the map boundary as if Moses was guarding our city. This may not look very realistic, but will prevent any unwanted flooding issues. And those were all the tests I ran. If you think I missed anything, let me know and I'll try it out. And let me know if you think I got something wrong or if you have any questions. So, to answer our original questions. Water simulation outside the playable area is new. water seems to be more fluid and less sticky, and it seems to be better at filling thin canals. Dams appear to be improved, however, this may be unrelated to the water simulation. And most importantly, I don't think this water simulation update is so great that you have to start a new city or only play on maps that have the update. I'm happy with the amount of content that came with the DLC. There are some beautiful assets here. I think my favorite thing in this DLC is the lift bridges. The rail lift bridge fits perfectly on the Coos Bay map. And the ports have been really fun to build. I'm looking forward to seeing how they can implement this modular approach into future DLCs. It's unfortunate that the DLC was delayed so many times, but I think the final product was worth the delays. Now everyone that paid for the Ultimate Edition has finally got what they were owed, even if it took 2 years. After some other parts of this game that have been either delayed or almost seemingly abandoned, it's nice to see that they're finally following through and delivering. And kudos to Colossal Order and Paradox for listening to their fans to keep improving the game. As for the water simulation, I'm honestly a bit disappointed. I just don't see the benefits outweighing the work for updating existing maps at the moment, especially with rivers. I could be wrong, but I believe they wouldn't have prioritized this before the editor if it wasn't important. So maybe as time goes on and we learn more, my disappointment will fade. And since it's now the default for new maps, it won't be as much of an issue going forward. It's a more simple system after all, and I haven't quite mastered good river flow with it yet. That being said, I'm still feeling optimistic about the future of the game. I was really hoping for Colossal Order to complete the redemption arc with this one, and while I don't think they're quite there, it's looking like they're on track. This game has a great foundation, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. I want to end this on a more positive note and say that despite all my gripes, I have to admit while testing the update and DLC, I've never enjoyed playing vanilla more. I hope you learned something from this video, and I also hope that you enjoy the updated maps. Thank you to everyone for watching, take care, and happy building.